So that first year of launching the membership, it was me, myself and I basically. And then by the end of the first year, we'd managed to get to 1,000 members. We'd had enrollment open all the time. And that's when I learned about launching and like closing the membership and then opening up enrollment for like a week, a couple of times a year. And the first time we did a launch, we had 1,200 people join in a week. And I was like, this is definitely the best way to go.
Hello and welcome back to the BuddyBoss podcast, where we dive deep into the strategies that will help you build, launch, and grow your online communities, your courses, and your memberships. I'm your host, Jason Broderick, marketing manager and head of content here at BuddyBoss. If it's your first time here or you just haven't gotten around to it yet, do me a favor, click the subscribe button below this video and then click that bell icon to make sure you keep up to date with all of our latest content here at BuddyBoss. In this episode, Carrie tells us about how the isolation and aloneness she experienced as a young female entrepreneur led her to create her own network for people like her. How BuddyBoss made it possible for her to finally bring her multi-7-figure membership site to life like she'd always wanted, and how she more than doubled the size of her membership site from gaining 1,000 members in her first year to gaining another 1,200 members in just 1 week by closing down enrollment. Let's dive in. Carrie, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you on. I was really impressed by the sort of, empire of things that I've just discovered about you. So for people who don't know who you are, people who don't know about the Female Entrepreneur Association, could you give us a little bit of an overview of what it is, who it's for, who it serves, and what it does for them?
Yes. Firstly, it's so nice to be here. So the Female Entrepreneur Association is a little project I started back in 2011 when I felt so isolated building my first business. So I started my first online business, which was phone unlocking, which was legal back in 2005 when I was at university. And that became really successful. But then I found myself after I graduated feeling like so lost and lonely. And so in 2011, after I got over 3 years of imposter syndrome, I actually decided to do something with the idea. So I set the website up, and it's really for women all over the world to come together, to support one another, to basically have a glass of wine and talk about their business problems together. And just to learn, like, how do you actually take an idea and turn it into a successful business? So it's grown, it's just grown over the years into this incredible community.
Amazing. So when I was having a little bit of a stalk on your YouTube, and I watched your intro video, and one of the things that struck me was, could you tell everyone a little bit about the career path that you were sort of going down before you, or while you were sort of launching this? Tell us a little bit about the kind of before of the business.
So when I started my first business in 2005, I was at the end of my first year of studying law at university, and so I got to the end, like after the 3 years of law. I graduated with this great degree, and I was like, well, do I continue doing this like law route, or do I keep going with building a business? And I had my place to do the LPC, the Law Practitioners course. And I really just didn't know. So I ended up getting some work experience at Warner Brothers in the in-house legal team. And I was like, if this doesn't make me want to be a lawyer, I don't know what will. But I was working on deciding who was an employee and who was a contractor. I thought it was so boring. And I was like, I felt like someone had stuffed me into a jar, and I had too many ideas, and I was like too excited about the idea of like this online business. And I don't know, it just gave me so much more freedom. And I just was like, I know now I need to give up my place on the LPC, and I just need to focus on building the business. So yeah, that's what I chose to do. And it was kind of a big moment, but really exciting, and so blooming glad that I made that decision.
Yeah, for sure. That's a pretty major crossroads to have like done a very significant like educational path, plus then gotten like quite a good or really good placement in a place that might have led to a career path, and sort of then gone, actually, is this the fork in the road that I want to go down? So while you were doing that job, what was like, and you also had this business that you were sort of, that was in its infancy, or that was kind of in its beginnings. What was the sort of biggest daily struggle that you had while you were working the job and also trying to manage this other business on the side as well?
Well, so I had fallen into the world of online businesses. So when I started that business in 2005, so firstly, I was actually a reseller. So I was reselling this phone unlocking service. So I didn't create the phone unlocking service. I wouldn't have a clue how. So I was selling it as so basically I had to learn, how do I create a website? How do I get people to my website? How do I get them to buy a phone unlock code from me? How do I then create a great customer experience for them? So that's what I was trying to figure out. And so in building this online business and not having like the service part being kind of automated, it meant that I could then start to automate the customer acquisition process. So for example, I discovered Google AdWords. So I got running Google AdWords, which was driving traffic to the website that was generating sales. And so by the time I got to that job at Warner Brothers, so much of the business was automated. And so all I literally did, and this was like the same at university too, I'd be like going to my lectures during the day, going out at night, getting home, getting on my little laptop in my little student room and looking like, how much money did I make today? And being like, oh my gosh, I made £300 today. And just like kind of watching that kind of grow and grow. So when I was at Warner Brothers, I didn't really need to do that much. So I was in a really fortunate position, but it kind of like exploded this idea that bloody hell, like the internet is literally this gold mine that you can tap in. Anyone can tap into. Like I was like early 20s and making money online with this automated business. And it kind of taught me about passive income. It taught me about really like the power of learning and understanding online marketing, the power of online businesses, the fact that you have the freedom, you've got a laptop and an internet connection. You can literally build a business anywhere and build an amazing business. But on the flip side of that, when I decided I wasn't going to go down the law route and I was building this business, obviously like it didn't take up that much of my time. And I felt so lonely and isolated, but I also felt really lost because I was like, what am I doing? I'm in my early 20s and what the hell is life about? Like this can't just be it. And also because I wasn't actually passionate about phone unlocking. So that kind of...
You weren't? What? About phone unlocking?
Yeah. Can you believe it? So it was such an incredible experience that ultimately has led me to where I am today. But but the biggest thing was realizing, bloody hell, like there's so many opportunities for everyone to tap into. It's crazy.
I had a very similar experience when I know we spoke a little bit before the interview, when I was selling perfumes at Harrods for about 3 years of my life. And, I was auditioning to be an actor during the daytime, and then I was going to my Harrods job and whatever. And I sort of was really miserable in the job. It was very menial, very boring, like nice friends or whatever. And then I sort of discovered this online world and I started kind of dipping my toes in the water. And I remember the very first day that I made some money online was I kind of created I took all my blog posts that I'd written on a topic over the last year and I rolled them up into a PDF. And I, reached out to my email list and I said, hey, email list, I've got this new ebook, which is you can buy for £4.99. And I put it up on the website and whatever. And I went to my Harrods job and I came home that night and I'd made £100 online. Wow. And I just thought, wow, I made £70 in Harrods, stood on the shop floor all day selling perfume, but I made £100 on the internet by doing nothing. Yeah. Okay, cool, right. This is the way I'm going to go from now on, and so that's kind of like, that was my fork in the road for sure. And put me down that path. What that meant I had the financial freedom to be auditioning during the daytime, not getting acting jobs all the time, but it meant I wasn't relying on another job to sort of support me or whatever. One of the other things that you mentioned, which I want to ask you about next, is you mentioned that sort of, because you were like a reseller for this company and you didn't really particularly care about the business type or whatever, that you were learning all of these things about online entrepreneurship and marketing and sales and customer experience and customer acquisition. And then you sort of realized, or you found yourself kind of alone or isolated because you were just this one person selling this thing or doing this thing on the internet from your bedroom or wherever. That sounds to me like, was that the sort of kind of thing that spurred you on to decide, okay, I need to create a community of people like me? Would that be kind of true to say?
Yeah, definitely. And it was that in combination, and because that feeling of isolation it's so debilitating. And there would be days when I wouldn't even leave the apartment. I wouldn't be having conversations with people. Also going to networking events, I often found I was surrounded by like men in suits. And I was like, this is not my scene. I don't fit in here. Also was like, what am I doing? Like, why would anyone listen to me say this? Like, who am I to do this? Because it's one thing to sell someone else's product and service that you haven't had no hand in creating. Because if it's crap, then, well, obviously you don't want to sell a crap service, but like, it wasn't mine. I didn't create it. But it's quite another thing when you've put your heart and soul into it and it's your idea that's like come from within, and like, that's terrifying. Realization of, I need to get over myself. And it doesn't matter that I'm thinking, who the hell will enjoy this? Or it doesn't matter. What matters is that I just go and try. So that kind of led to this whole, like, a little mission success challenge I created for myself to just like, what would be possible if I put this out there? And I tried. And so I did it and I never looked back.
Amazing. I love that. I'm hearing so many parallels in my sort of my story. Just for people who kind of may not know who you are, or may not be aware, could you just give people an overview of like where you are now in terms of what I described at the start as like the empire? Could you tell people like all of the different things you've got going on, all of the different sort of product lines you sell, like services you offer, just to give people an idea of the sort of scale of things that you're doing? So
the main thing is the membership, which I launched in 2013. And the previous 2 years to that, I just spent focused on like building my audience and my email list, mostly because I didn't want to charge anyone for anything because I just wanted to help people. And who was I to charge for something? Mm-hmm. So I did it for free until I ran out of money and was like, no, I have to figure this out. But it was really good to have focused on building my audience and my email list, because then in 2013, when I launched my membership site, that really gave me the platform to be able to start growing it. So that was 2013. And I really focused on that exclusively, really, until last year. We launched a program called Create and Sell, which is like a 12-week program, which is really blooming intense, which helps people to like actually create a course or a membership or a digital product, create the thing and actually sell it by the end of the 12 weeks. That's really intense. And then we've got like other little things, but I mean, like, it's turned into a multiple 7-figure business. And I've written like a book, She Means Business, which was published in 2017, which was bestseller. And I feel like it's just incredible what anyone can make happen when you just kind of like take those teeny tiny little steps and you just keep going and keep going and keep going. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it honestly blows my mind to think of where I am at now, and the possibilities for everyone.
One of the things, or one of the sort of like ideas or notions that I found to be really profound and never implemented, was this idea that like, if you really want to serve as many people as you possibly can to the greatest volume, breadth and the greatest depth, you want to serve these people, and maybe you're hung up on this idea of like, that means you can't charge for that, that means like it has to be free, you have to be giving out these free resources and whatever, then this notion that like it serves them best for there to be a segment of that group that can pay for things, or that can buy the premium service or upgrade or buy the product. Because without that source of income from that smaller group, you won't be able to sustain the service of anybody. I think it was like Jeff Walker, a product launch formula guy, who was like, if you want to, the 80% of people who you always want to give stuff for free to, they require that small 20% or that small 10% of people who are paying for stuff from you, because without that, you won't be able to serve anybody and you'll be out of business. Your organization won't be sustainable. Does that sound like kind of where you were at? And it sounds like you're not there anymore.
100%. I was there doing it all free. And I think a lot of it was my own money blocks, my own like self-worth tangled into the idea of me making money from my ideas, and like, who was I and how was I qualified to do that? And I had to really get my head around switching that up. But the key thing that I realized is that when you start selling, it's really about being of service and adding value on another level. It's not taking anything from people. It's actually giving more to the people who want more. And when that light switch flicked on inside my head, I was like, that was like a real key shift for me to make to help me to make money.
Yeah, we probably need to have many more conversations after this, because that sounds like a shift in mindset that I probably need to make for myself. The community that I serve are like, as I'm sure every community leader says about their community, you know, they don't pay for stuff. They are very poor, like notoriously don't earn a lot of money. I'm talking about actors, performers. And so whenever anybody offers a premium service or a premium product in the industry, it's always met with this sort of, how dare you, like, how can you charge actors that kind of money? How can you expect people to pay for this when it's available for free over there? You know, like, who are you, snake oil salesman, whatever. Which has always been something that I've struggled with, because my community is also a non-profit. The entity itself is a non-profit organization. And so I've always kind of, in fact, I made it a non-profit so that I could sort of hide behind that. Not hide behind
that
it,
is but literally, something that has popped into my head at the beginning of FEA before. Like, if I make this non-profit, like, takes the pressure off of it. I have one thing to say to you, though. I know somebody who has a knitting business, and she just teaches people how to knit. She has a weekend workshop that she runs. Wait for it. And she charges $10,000 per ticket for her workshop to just learn how to knit. She has an insanely successful business teaching people how to knit just as a hobby. These are not people who are building knitting businesses. It's just a hobby. And I feel like it puts into perspective, like, what's possible. And like, you know, in the membership and everything, I teach people, like, you know, how to create courses and all that stuff. And one of the things I always say is, there are courses out there teaching people how to drink water, and people pay. And it's like, it's just, you have to get out of your own way and realize that, like, what we all share, and we can add so much value. And we get so hung up on thinking, like what you're saying, you're like, that focus on those few people who might be like, I'm never paying for this. What is this? But that's like the minority. There's going to be people over there who have been like, oh my gosh, yes, they've finally done this. Like, when I launched my membership, it was literally like the audience were like, finally, we can buy something from you. And they were excited. And it's crazy how we just get in our own heads about it, and how so many people actually allow it to stop them from ever creating something and putting it out there and adding that value and having that impact in the world that they could have had. So, yeah, just remember that next time.
We definitely need to have chats for sure. Podcast listeners, thank you very much for listening. We're gonna go have a chat somewhere else. No, I'm joking. I'm just kidding. I'm not kidding at all. So tell me a little bit then about how this pandemic situation, you know, changed, altered, made worse, made better. Tell me a little bit about how the pandemic impacted you specifically in your organization, and also your community, and also kind of the people that you serve.
Well, it impacted me in the sense that we spent a fortune on redoing an office space that I'm sat in right now. And 3 weeks later, we moved in, and 3 weeks later, lockdown happened. I was like, maybe this is a sign that I'm not supposed to have an office. So that was crazy. But actually, for the large part, I think, given what the Female Entrepreneur Association is about, like, you know, we all saw it with that whole Great Resignation thing and working from home. I think obviously so many people were getting like made redundant, and so many people realizing that there were opportunities to make money from home with an online business, doing something they love, being able to take, you know, more control over their ability to earn money. And, you know, and so I think we saw a lot more people becoming course creators and tapping into their own knowledge and skill set. So it was really good to be able to support those people and to help them to pivot so that they could actually get through the pandemic. So it was, so we didn't notice an impact, like a negative impact from the pandemic. But it was nice to be able to positively impact people who were having major life changes because of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. I think you're being very kind and careful about your wording there. I think certainly my own experience and other guests who are in the space of, who were already in the online space and whose kind of content surrounds empowering other people to find their, whether it's find their voice online or find their audience online or whatever, that some of the other guests have certainly described that the pandemic actually gave more people the permission to go and do something that they've always wanted to go and do, or whether it gave them the sort of kick up the arse they needed to go and like actually start, you know, pursuing this dream that they've had. And you know, it sounds to me like that you shared that experience as well. That sort of, whilst there was obviously very many people went through suffering that none of us would wish on anybody, the upside of that is that it caused some people to really look at, really explore areas that they may never have explored before. My partner is she's a musical director, and she's just finished musical directing Jersey Boys in the West End, and she's musical supervisor of 6. So not an industry that you would ever think anybody would end up doing anything online, certainly not launching an online business or anything like that. And at the start of the pandemic, because all the entertainment was shut down, she immediately lost 100% of her income, like over a course of 24 hours. She went from like, you know, earning 50% more than me to earning like 0. With no income support, because she's not an employee. There's no furloughing, there's no nothing, just like, see you later, goodbye. And she, you know, obviously I'd been doing this stuff for several years up until that point, and it kind of, she started kind of looking, oh, you know what, actually maybe some of this stuff that he's been on about for like 4 years, maybe I might entertain some of that for a minute or whatever. So she ended up launching a really basic subscription service, and within 2 weeks she was covering her rent and bills.
Wow, that's amazing.
So like, you know, I certainly, you know, from lots of the other guests I've spoken to and her experience as well, I think like the pandemic had, as much as it had negatives that none of us would wish on anybody, it certainly brought with it some, it opened some doors that would not have ordinarily been opened, I think.
100%. Yeah.
So moving on to then your actual site for a second. When you decided to create the association, so I think you mentioned before, was that the very first premium service that you created, or did you have something else that you created before that?
No, so the membership was the first offer that I put out.
Yeah, right. So tell me a little bit about, you decided you were going to create this membership. What was the very first or the biggest challenge that you faced when you were sort of starting to get that off the ground or starting to build that?
Honestly, getting out of my own way, and like the overwhelm of thinking like, I've got this idea to create this membership, but then what am I going to put in it? How am I going to keep up with it? Like, is it going to be sustainable? What if I run out of ideas? What if it's too much to cope with? What if no one signs up and then 3 people are there and I'm doing all this work for 3 people? I had to get out of my own way with that. And one thing I did was I decided that like it was going to be easier to co-create it with the audience that I had. So I remember one thing I did was I put out a survey to my audience, and I was like, I'm thinking about creating this membership. This is what I think it's going to be about. And then I asked them a bunch of questions, and I asked them would they be interested, and like 85% of the people said yes. And then they gave me really great insights. And so kind of looking at that, it helped me to think through like what it could be. And then I was kind of putting it off. And I had this goal to launch it by the end of 2013. And it got to like October or something. And I was like, haven't done it. So I really gave me the kick up the backside to get it done. And I literally thought to myself, what's the favorite topic I love talking about? It's mindset. So I thought I'm going to create something on mindset. So I literally put like a workbook together, a guide, a visualization and some little printables, put it together, launched the membership with no clue what was coming next, and hoped for the best. And I just thought, you know, I'm just going to allow it to evolve, and I'm just going to go with it. So that first year of launching the membership, it was me, myself and I basically. And then by the end of the first year, we'd managed to get to 1,000 members. We'd had enrollment open all the time. And then at the end of that year, I knew that I needed to figure out a different way to grow and scale. And that's when I learned about launching and like closing the membership and then opening up enrollment for like a week a couple of times a year. And the first time we did a launch, we had 1,200 people join in a week. And I was like, this is definitely the best way to go.
So I just want to ask you a little bit more about that before you sort of go on to even giving us even more information. So just to reiterate what you just said, you launched the very first time you opened the membership, you only created just enough content for that very first month, let's say. And you started off with a survey, you kind of gathered questions to kind of figure out topics and would people be interested? Maybe, did you have questions about pricing in there as well, maybe?
I think I asked whether people would pay monthly or annually or what they wanted. I don't think I put an actual price in.
Got it. And then you created the content and then you opened it, right? As opposed to, you didn't say to those people, hey, this doesn't exist yet, but if you buy in now and co-create this content with me, you'll get it at a discount kind of thing.
No,
I didn't. Created the month first and then like got people in the sort of traditional way, shall we say?
Yes, yeah.
Great. So then after that, after having, like you said, about 1,000 members in the first year, you discovered launching, decided to close down the membership. So it was no longer open kind of all the time.
Yeah.
And instead you started moving to an open close model, right? Like you opened for a week, close it down. And you had more members join in a week than you had the entire year previously.
So crazy. Yeah. So
it's amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. We got, by the end of that second year, we were at 3,000 members. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And see that. And not only that, when you're creating a membership, you're creating like a community of essentially like super fans. They're the people that want to learn from you, want to be in your space, want to be in that community. And so it's so much more powerful than having like a free community. Like the free community is great, but these people are there and want to show up on another level. And the way they show up for each other, the way they support each other, it's just incredible. Like, what they get out of it as well, from the fact that, I mean, for mine, for example, it's all about business. So it's literally like business help on tap 24/7 from this amazing community of women from literally all over the world. So that's like the power of a membership and bringing people together. And like the thing is, like, I think with memberships, people now see like so many fancy web membership sites. Like people might come on my membership site and be like, oh my gosh, like I have to have all of this created before I launch. And they get overwhelmed looking at things, but it's not, the reality is it's not. Like you don't have to have loads of content. You can have just like 1 month's worth of content and do like a live call. Like for me, I started with a bundle every month. And then I did a live goal setting and planning workshop. And we had at the time the Facebook group where people could ask questions, and pretty sure that was it. Like that was it. And people loved it. And you could create a membership today with just those features and people would love it. So I don't think it needs to be complicated. And I think the more people complicate membership sites, the less successful they actually are.
Just to put that into one step further down the context rabbit hole, describe basically the way you described that like first month content that you just did. Could you just give everybody an idea of like for the resources that you create, not the like live calls or the community stuff, but for the like the downloadables or the watchables type stuff? How long would you say it should take somebody, or how long in terms of their like days of work do you think is enough to spend on the type of content that suffices for a month of content?
The more experience you get at putting stuff together, the faster it comes. Like to put into perspective, like now if I'm creating, so now we have like monthly masterclasses that go out, which is essentially like usually between 4 and 6 videos that are like 10 minutes each, maybe sometimes a bit more. And I can create a masterclass in a matter of hours. Like it takes a few hours. You know, it takes some getting used to, and like, it's like anything, like practice and practice and practice. You're going to become really good at like putting together paid content that is really, really valuable. And I also like, as I was going, was trying to figure out like, how do I collaborate with people? And so like, cause now sometimes we'll collaborate and like, we'll have other experts come in and just do the whole masterclass and I'm not involved at all. So a lot of people ask me, how do you collaborate with experts? Do you pay them? Do you do this? And I was like, I feel like build up your community, build up your network of people, build those real relationships so that people, you know, are excited when you reach out and say, hey, can I interview you? And also be willing to put yourself out there and ask. Like, I remember one time reaching out to Kim Kiyosaki, who wrote this best-selling book called Rich Woman, and asking if I could interview her. And I really didn't think she was going to say yes. And she emailed me back being like, yes. I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. This was so easy. And I think that, obviously that's not going to happen all the time, but I think a lot of people will say yes. And you don't have to make it more complicated than that. Like, what counts is that you're creating something that you truly feel within yourself is really good value and that is going to get somebody a transformation, and like clear on like what is the transformation this is going to actually get somebody. And if you are clear on that, I just think it's going to be amazing. And then obviously, like I said, just practice and practice and practice, getting better and better and better at creating paid content.
So tell me then a little bit about, to sort of dip our toes in the water of technology a little bit more. Tell me about, like, how did your discovery of BuddyBoss come about? Like, are you the sort of tech person in your business, in your organization? Does somebody else do that for you? And tell us a little bit about, like, how is BuddyBoss currently helping you to deliver your deliver all of what you do?
So I started working with my developer before I launched the membership, because I was like, I am not putting a checkout together for a recurring revenue stream myself. So I worked with him and he helped me get that off the ground. And a few years ago, I can't remember what plugin we were using, and I wanted to be like having direct messages. I wanted there to be group options. I wanted there to be like an activity feed. Like, I wanted to bring the site to life because I felt like it had become like really static and just, nothing really much happening apart from one updated masterclass a month. And we were looking at like building something out, and I was like, we could spend hours doing this. And I'd seen BuddyBoss years, like ages before that. And in researching, I kind of came back across it and I was like, this has all the features we're looking for. It's got direct messages, it's got groups, it's got activity feed, it's got like certifications when you've finished a course on there, it's got all of these things, it's got gamification built in. And I was like, why the hell would we spend like tens of thousands, if not more, custom building our own thing, which is going to take forever and probably not even going to be as good, when you can use BuddyBoss and they're constantly, updating it and making it better. And I was like, that is a no-brainer. It's been really good to have those extra features. It's really brought the community to life on the website in a way that it wasn't before. So it's been really good.
And I know from checking out your YouTube videos that you also have / continue to operate also in a Facebook group. Am I right?
Yeah. So we do. So we didn't close down the Facebook group because it is still really active. But I think one of the reasons why we really want to get going with the app, which we've been really working on trying to get there, but we've just had so much other stuff development wise going on. But is the notification piece, because I feel like on the website. The notifications aren't as good as like obviously Facebook. Everyone's on it on the phone. The notifications, like we're there on it. So that's the reason why we kept the Facebook group. But we call the groups on the website are breakout groups, because you've got like this massive group on Facebook and it's a bit overwhelming. So the really powerful part on the groups on the website is that it's like, if you're a coach, join this group. If you're a service provider, join this group. Or if you're a course creator, membership site owner, and it's nice for people to be able to go and be like, oh my gosh, yes, I actually want to go and speak to some coaches and see like, how did you get started? And like, I've got a question on this, or what service do you use for this? And so I think that's really the power of those groups, is like they're really specific, which you don't get in a Facebook group.
No, you don't know. I think they're toying, or they're flirting with the idea of subgroups at the minute, which is sort of like as close as you're ever going to get to it. But still, you want to send out a notification to all your group members. Sorry, like good luck. I don't know if you've gotten the everyone feature yet or whatever, but like that is absolutely the power of
that, and that is the problem, isn't it? When you're relying on like a platform like Facebook for your paid community. So it's like, you don't have. Like Facebook can do whatever the hell Facebook want to do. And it's risky. So I feel like having ownership of it on your own website is just so much better. Yeah,
I think Facebook are going to do whatever works for Facebook, regardless of whether it works for you or not. I don't know if you are, but I'm a member of the official Facebook like Power Admins group. So whenever they're trialing a feature for groups, we sort of get info about it in advance, and they give us all the resources, and we get to like see it first and stuff like that. And like, yeah, that taking over the group thing caused mayhem. And I kind of realized about 3 or 4 years ago, wow, like I really need to start like funneling members into just email capture. Even if all I do is just start capturing emails, at the very least, if they close down the Facebook groups for whatever reason, I'll have an asset that I own, that I
still think
email
email
sort of rely
marketing
on.
is like the most powerful thing. Like it has just been a constant for me, like really powerful. Everyone needs to be building their email list and making sure it's engaged.
Yeah. To give people an idea, if you're not comfortable sharing, you can let me know. Would you be comfortable sharing, like, what's the size of your email list now, like relative to, you said, like multi-7-figure business or whatever? How many emails are we talking? Is that like 1 million, 500,000, 100,000, 10,000, like ballpark?
So now we have about 150,000 or just over 150,000 people on the email list. But what we really look at is like how many are in the engaged bucket. So I think we have just over 90,000 who are like in the engaged bucket. And those are the people that we are like focused on like building a relationship with. And it's so powerful. Like, I think it was last year? I think it was. I was involved in this like bundle collaboration where I put my course in it and like loads of people put their course in, and it was like this bundle offer where it was like $99 and I was just an affiliate and I got like 50% if I sold it. And it got to the end of the promotion and I hadn't done anything. And I thought, I'll send an email out and promote this. So I sent an email to the list and the sales were like coming in. I was like, I'll send a final email tomorrow. It's the last day. I'll just send another email. I sent 2 emails. It generated $68,000 in revenue. And that was my affiliate commission. And I was like, okay, so email list is still very, very powerful. And
emails are not dead. Yeah.
No.
Sure.
And yeah, exactly. And it's such a powerful way to communicate still, when you do it right. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what has been the biggest highlight to you personally of building the Female Entrepreneurs Association?
I feel like from one perspective, I think in the kind of business it is, like the stories that we receive, like I was on a live session just earlier and one of the people on there literally posted in the chat saying she is from, I think she was from South Africa. She read my book, and then she went and started a business and she since made $50,000 from this business. And she literally like all from reading your book. And I was like, that is like life-changing that she has gone out there and made $50,000, because you make 50,000, you can make 100, you can make 200, blah, 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 blah. And I think like those stories over the years, and like sometimes when I'm doing talks, like it's just really surreal meeting people and then them saying like, you've literally changed my life. Like the impact that you can have is so big. And I think for me, that's honestly what has like really been the biggest part of everything that I've created. Because I had a business before that was financially successful, but felt so hollow. So yeah, I think that the magic of FEA is that impact piece. It's been amazing.
Awesome. Tell me then, what do you think the biggest benefit to your community or your members has been of using BuddyBoss as the platform that you deliver that on?
Like honestly, just bringing it to life. Like I said, it was static before. I wasn't giving people a reason to come back and check it every single day. Whereas now I feel like there's much more of a reason to come back and check it and interact and engage. And like people are having like private DM conversations on there, and that's amazing. So that has been, the biggest value.
Love it. Love it. So tell me, what's the next big thing for the site? What's the next big thing that you're working on? Next big thing that you're building on?
The next big thing is actually going back to some of the things we used to do. So I was looking back and I was like, what did we used to do that worked really well? And we used to do like a lot of articles where we collaborated with women on this How She Did It series and sharing their stories. And so we're kind of going back to like really establishing ourselves again as like a media platform where we're publishing a lot more content and we're collaborating with like a lot more women from all over the world, like from just people starting up to people building really successful businesses. And I feel really excited to kind of go back to to those things that we started doing years ago and then just for whatever reason stopped doing along the way. So, and like just really focusing on the membership again, not getting shiny object syndrome. Keep it simple. Focus on one thing. So yeah.
Did I see magazine series? Or did I make that up? Did I see like an actual print magazine on your site?
Oh yeah, we did have a digital magazine that we haven't actually run for a while. That's one thing we're going to redo the whole website because it's kind of a bit out of date. But yeah, I want to kind of take that magazine and put it actually onto the website rather than in the PDF version of it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, nice, amazing. That was awesome. We're going to jump into a few lightning round questions now, and I'm going to give you absolutely no time to answer your questions, so you better have prepared all your answers in advance, all right?
Great.
I'm joking. All right, so let's jump into lightning round questions then. So for the first one, what is the one book that you think all entrepreneurs should read?
Aside from my own, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Such a good book.
Yeah, love it. You also mentioned earlier, was it Sean Covey's?
Oh yeah.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens was the first one that you read. I've just finished reading the main 7 Habits book just now.
So
which,
good. It's heavy going, but it's good, isn't it?
Awesome, I find. I think heavy, but like talking about really fundamental stuff, but really deep. Do you know what I mean? I actually find that about the E-Myth actually as well. Like for me, 7 Habits is more about like personal habits. Let's say personal, finding yourself and who you are and how you show up in the world. And for me, the E-Myth is more like, okay, and now how do you apply that to the operation of a business? You know, the simplest version of how do you construct, what does a business look like? And if for somebody who like has never done a business course or hasn't gone to business college or hasn't gone to business school or never had a parent that ran a business or has never been self-employed or whatever, the E-Myth is like, if you're going to read one book, read that for sure. What's your favorite business motivational or inspirational quote?
This is an easy one. I feel like I live by this. It's by Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And he said, everything in life can be taken away from you except for your freedom to choose how you respond. I feel like just so empowering. I live my life by it.
I love that. That's nice. Yeah, I need to write that one down. I feel like every time someone says one of these quotes to me, I answer with like, yeah, God, I need to write that one down. That's a really good one. What's the number one place that you go online to learn about building your business?
I like being part of masterminds. So at the moment, I'm part of Jeff Walker's mastermind, and I feel like it's really important to surround yourself with people who are like really successful or ahead of where you want to be at, and you can learn from those people. So yeah, he is somebody whose space I'm kind of currently part of.
What's the one thing that you wish you knew before you started your business?
Not give myself such a hard time. Like, no one has it figured out. Everyone feels like an imposter, on some level, and just to go for it and to back my dreams.
Yeah. Got it. If I sent you back in time with all the knowledge that you have right now, all the skills that you have right now, but you only had 500 quid, what's the very first thing that you would do to start your business all over again?
The first thing I would do is get clear on like, what is my message? What's my mission? Who are my audience? And like, how am I going to serve them? And like, I would nail that. And then once I nail that, I would literally like figure out building my email list right away, going and getting that set up so I can start gathering those leads up and figuring out like, what can I put out into the world to add value? So it'd be like content creation so that I can get discovered by people.
How do you define success?
I feel like success is living a really intentional life, and it's like I designed this life for myself intentionally to feel the way I want to feel and experience the things I want to experience and do the things I want to do. And for me, that's success, when you can live it on your terms.
I love that. Tell people where they can go to find out more about you, find out more about Female Entrepreneur Association, and follow you on socials and that sort of stuff.
The website, if you can spell it, is femaleentrepreneurassociation.com, but also on Instagram I am Carrie Green, and like on YouTube I think it's, I don't know, if you just type in Carrie Green you'll find it.
Carrie, it was absolutely amazing to talk to you, so inspiring, and I'm sure we'll have many chats now that we've sort of connected. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time and for kind of giving everybody your pearls of wisdom.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
That was Carrie Green from the Female Entrepreneur Association, sharing with us how she more than doubled the size of her membership in 1 week by closing it down. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to let us know, then make sure that you hit that like button below and then leave us a quick comment and tell us, what was the one most valuable thing that you learned from watching this video? If you run an online course, community, or a membership site and it's powered by BuddyBoss and you'd like to be featured on an upcoming podcast episode, head over to buddyboss.com/podcast and fill out the form to get in touch. That's it from me. Until next time.